from the sounds of it, yeah.
Good evening. The Finance Committee meeting for November 20th, 2019 is reconvening, and we're on our agenda today. We're going to talk about the fiscal 2021 budget. We have a kickoff meeting. We're going to look and vote on a couple of transfers, talk about minutes, and we'll start with our town accountant, please. Ed.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the Finance Committee. Tonight officially begins the FY 2021 budget process. I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. I think we can expect about a 15 to 20 minute presentation, followed up by questions if the Finance Committee should have any. So, beginning with the standard recap of revenues and expenditures, and I'll get into details, so I'm going to be, I'll get more into the detail as we look at those slides. But we have total revenues estimated at $70,982,169 and change. And we have total appropriations almost equal that of $70,966,147 and change, leaving an estimated surplus of $16,021.95. So as we look at local receipts from current fiscal year to FY '21, we see basically level funded. There's a slight decrease due to payment in lieu of taxes, which there's a supplemental slide showing that, because the payment in lieu of taxes that was due to the town of Auburn from the Housing Authority did not come in on a timely basis, so we're going to get two payments in this fiscal year. The cherry sheet receipts right now, we're level funding, not knowing what the House 1 numbers are going to be. Certainly we'll update that, hopefully in January. Tax levy, we have an increase of $1.6 million, or roughly 4%. Debt exclusions are known. It's almost level to what it was in '20, roughly a $4,200 increase. And our available funds, a significant decrease, and that's due to the free cash and other available funds that are typically voted at the fall town meeting that are not known at this time. So looking on the revenue side, our tax levy represents about $42.5 million. This presentation utilizes 100% of 2.5 in the model before you tonight. Roughly 2.25 going for departmental operating budgets, and 0.25 going to our capital improvement program as supported in our financial policies. This budget estimates $450,000 for new growth. Certainly our new growth is significantly higher than that, but we conservatively use that, not knowing what our permits or what construction activity is going to take place in the coming year. Our excess levy would remain, if we're using roughly 100% of 2.5, at $5.9 million. That would leave a levy utilization of about 87, almost 88%, and our unused levy percentage is about 12.25%. Once again, this budget raises through the debt exclusion about $2.9 million for the debt and interest payments for the school projects. Here's a new growth 5-year average. As you can see, in FY19 we had 932,000. A good chunk of that was attributable to the new Reliant coming into the former Macy's building. Certainly we know we're not going to have that in FY20. We've already captured that. But our 5-year growth stands at about $786,000. Looking at our tax levy, 2.5% increase represents $1,171,917 and change. If we add the new growth to that, $450,000, that would give us a levy use of $42.5 million. As you can see in this slide, this depicts our growth in excess levy because we're not taxing at 2.5. The red percentages in the bar show what we utilized, what percent of 2.5 we utilized on an annual basis. And the numbers in black outside of the bar chart represent our excess levy limit on a fiscal year basis. I'm proud to say over 10 years we saved the residents of this community, based upon this slide, about $34.5 million because we're not taxing at 2.5. Our cherry sheet aid currently stands at $14.3 million. We level funded that at this time. I can tell you the state revenues right now, which I've read early on, are running above benchmark. I believe the FY19 budget, state revenue budget, closed out with a $1.2 billion surplus. A majority of that has gone into the rainy day fund. We're hoping this trend continues, but certainly we'll update these numbers once the House numbers are released, hopefully in January. On the available fund side, we had in this model, we have a $53,000 reduction in overlay surplus that we had in the current fiscal year, FY20. We have a $645,000 reduction of free cash, not knowing what the free cash number is going to be at the close of this fiscal year. We had a $263,000 reduction in SOAR retained earnings because there were some outside articles in the FY20 budget outside of the 5-year CIP that appropriated money directly from the SOAR retained earnings. That is not earmarked for the current, for FY21. Also, we had a one-time use of cable retained earnings of $200,000 for the rehab of Camp Gleason, which was appropriated in this current fiscal year. We had a reduction in FY21, retained earnings used from Packagug Golf Course, $32,500 for the purchase of a tractor in FY20, and a reduction of stabilization of $300,000 that was used in FY20 for the replacement of the high school field, a turf replacement. That's why we had about a $1.5, $1.6 million reduction in available funds. Here's the listing of available funds. As you can see, in FY20, we had $2.87 million. In FY21, we're estimating almost $1.360 million. As I alluded to earlier, we level funded all estimated local receipts with the exception of the pilot payment. We doubled up in FY20 to a level of $85,000. We're peeling that back because we had a double payment in FY20 from the Housing Authority. Here's an itemization of our local receipts. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of tough to read. But if you look at the fifth line down, you'll see the payment in lieu of taxes, 85 versus 42 for FY21. Overall, we're estimating our revenue at almost $71 million. That's 0.09% over FY20, an increase of $65,269.79. Now, I know that's misleading. Certainly, if you take into account the available funds and you back that out, the budget increase is closer to $1.6 million. On the expense side, all wages have been indexed by about 2.25%. That accounts for the average amount that's been negotiated through COLA and through some other wage items that are recognized in the negotiated contracts. So if you look at $816,000, that absorbs about 73.50% of the total allowable 2.5. So that takes a big chunk out of what's allowed under 2.5. That only leaves about roughly 27% remaining. Payroll in this model, or my guidance, is going to be calculated at 52.2 weeks for those who are in attendance tonight. As I indicated, we have a valued index of 2.25% in the budget model. We're estimating an increase in our solid waste pickup and collection. Our contract expires June 30th. We have to go out to bid. We're expecting an increase in that, as well as our recycling costs. The market has significantly changed. What we used to be able to get rid of, or actually paid for, get rid of for nothing, there's a cost associated with getting rid of our recyclables now. And that cost is estimated it to be about $100,000 annually. And that may be conservative, we don't know yet. The market is, we'll be paying as much to get rid of our recyclables as it is to get rid of our solid waste. So that's going to be a big number. It increases our employee benefits by about 8.97%. So I did a model strictly for employee benefits. Certainly that could shift either way. Just read in the paper yesterday that one of our providers had the third quarter loss of over about $20.2 million. How that's going to impact our premium in the upcoming year, we don't know. But certainly, we're concerned about that. This budget provides for a band interest payment of $80,000 for a recent note sale of $3.4 million. It also provides for an interest payment on a anticipated general obligation bond issue that we will go out for when our band renews next fall, estimated to be about $4.3 million. We'll have an interest payment due in year one, estimated to be about $60,000. It increases, we're using 2.25% of allowable 2.5 through tax levy to fund our 5-year CIP. That amount represents about $117,000. FY21 utilization of tax levy for our 5-year capital program is about $1.12 million. It maintains our OPEB funding at $500,000 per year. The model currently meets all of our debt and interest obligation. It level funds roadway reconstruction. It level funds snow and ice at FY20 levels, which we increased at the fall town meeting. And it level funds Medicaid receipts and outside article for the school department as amended at the fall town meeting to $200,000. Continuing with our expenses, it level funds cherry sheet assessments as well as charges and offsets. Once again, the budget incorporates the approval of our adopted financial policy. We're going into year 8. There's no earmark for stabilization. We typically do that at the fall town meeting once the final numbers are known. We are increasing our Bay Path assessment 2%. I can tell you I got a letter from Bay Path this week. The final numbers are going to result in about a $6,000 increase in our assessment, above and beyond what was improved at the annual town meeting. So I'm going to have to come in with a transfer as a result of that notification. And right now, our level funds our Norfolk Aggie assessment, not knowing if there's going to be any future enrollments in that program as well. On the expense side, this just lists by departments. It's level funding all departmental budgets. There is an index for the wages, which I'll pinpoint as we get to that slide. But as you can see on this slide, there's a 2% for Bay Path. Some of the comments on this slide are level funds Norfolk Aggie. And just a note, we do recognize that the Auburn Fire Department was awarded the SAFER grant, which adds some additional firefighters funded over a 3-year period by the federal government, as well as a local contribution for a 3-year period before we absorb 100% of that. I can also tell you that the SAFER grant is going to pick up the 75% in year 1 of the employee benefits costs as well. If we look at solid waste, you're going to notice a comment, 3.5% plus recycling cost. I touched upon that earlier. There's our debt obligations. And employee benefits, it's a blended 8.9% increase. Here's our wage index of 816,000 in the model, resulting to a total appropriation of $70,966,147.16. So as you can see, our expenses is just read, 70.9 million. That's 0.29% over current fiscal year. It's a decrease of $8,276, leading to a projected surplus of $16,022. In terms of budget priorities, so there's a lot of budget uncertainty as it relates to legal. We're in mediation with 2 bargaining groups. There's some uncertainty relative to that. Some insurance policy premiums as a result of pending litigation, and solid waste collection, contract, and recycling costs. As a result of that, we've been given guidance by the Board of Selectmen at their last meeting, who are concerned about unanticipated and unknown expenses. They asked that the town and school curb spending, no extras, minimize the use of Proposition 2.5, and continue OPEB and to increase legal costs. Other priorities, we continue to try to get some outreach to our residents who may qualify for tax relief programs and exemptions that will assist seniors and veterans in terms of exemptions to annual property taxes. We continue to increase the town's reserve accounts, that being OPEB, stabilization, and SPED reserve account. We continue to look at rehabbing and upkeeping our town facilities. As we identified last year through the budget process, we need to continue to address our stormwater mandates. We did bring to the fall town meeting an outside article for $200,000 to address some of the infrastructure needs relative to those mandates. That's a first step in addressing that. We're going to continue to minimize our utilization of Proposition 2.5 as best we can. We need to devise a succession plan to address key management personnel retiring in the next 3 to 5 years. And we will continue to determine departmental priorities resulting through budget discussions with both Julie and I, and as well as the Finance Committee when it comes before you. So, Madam Chair, members of the Finance Committee, that concludes my presentation tonight. I'm available to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you. All right, let's start. Any questions? Gentlemen? Not here. I have a couple questions. I have a couple. What was our health insurance increase this year? What percentage?
So the final number, I believe, was 4.5%. We came in with 8% initially, and then we had a $300,000 reduction at the fall town meeting. Hopefully, I would like to think that trend is going to continue, but once again, I don't know. So I would rather, I'm hoping 8%, 8.5% is adequate now, but we're not going to know until April-ish what that number is going to be. Okay. But if we do hear anything from our advisors as a result of some of the news that's been published and what implications it may have on Auburn, we'll certainly get the information to you.
Okay, thank you very much. So, no questions on the budget? Okay. Well, thank you very much, Ed. Thank you, everyone, for coming this evening. Does anyone have any questions?
Did everyone receive a packet? Okay.
Well, thank you very much. I think we're all set with this part of the meeting, and we can look at some transfers right now. And we have 2 transfers, one for the DPW.
Madam Chair?
Do you want to take a break and let everyone go?
Yes, please, take, why don't we take a break so everyone is able to leave? We'll take recess.
I make a motion to recess.
I make
for
a
2
motion to recess for 5 minutes.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Yeah, where are you from?
To order again. Okay.
Milton? No, I grew up in Millbury.
Good evening. We're going to call the meeting of the Finance Committee back to order after our budget presentation. And the next thing we're going to look at on our agenda are transfer requests, and we have 2. The first transfer request is from the DPW Sewer Division. Money is requested from the contingency account, a sum of $10,000, going to the phones and alarm account. In the contingency account right now is $45,682.19. The reason for the transfer to the phones and alarms account is to cover 2 invoices for cost of software support, modem, and emergency service calls, and allowance for future emergency service calls for sewer station alarm computer. Do I hear a motion? Any questions? Motion to recommend?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Okay, thank you. The next transfer is coming from the Department of Inspectional Services. It's a request from the salary reserve account. The amount requested is $5,100. And the reason for the request is a salary adjustment to retain the building commissioner / assistant department head. So would you like to tell us about that?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Through the chair, thank you for the opportunity. First of all, let me just say, we have an amazing building commissioner. He's done an outstanding job for us. We have also made a significant investment into his training and certifications. And every year, he's required to get certain certifications, certain classes. And statewide, I can tell you that there is a shortage of building commissioners. It's one of the positions that communities are having a very difficult time filling. So there's a lot of poaching going on. We try to stay up with our salaries as best we can. As you know, we do fall behind because, especially with positions like this where it's competitive, we end up falling behind because as competition increases, the salaries increase, and before you know it, we're behind again. So in this specific case, we would very much like to keep our building commissioner. He's excellent. He's an important and critical part of our team. Not only is he our building commissioner, but he's also the assistant director of the Department of Development and Special Services, so he wears two hats. I would tell you that Auburn is one of the busier communities when it comes to building permits. We probably have about 1,000 a year, which is significantly more than other communities. In this particular case, our building commissioner was offered a position in a neighboring community for significantly higher salary than we are offering, for fewer hours and less cases. The building commissioner thankfully would like to stay in Auburn, but obviously and understandably has to consider his family and his family situation. But for us, we've made this investment, and if we don't keep this building commissioner here, we will be going out into a market where we will have to pay a salary that's competitive. We did another salary analysis when this happened, and we determined that the salary that we're seeking to pay now would be in the ballpark of other communities. I'm not going to tell you it's as high as some others, and I thank the building commissioner for acknowledging that it's not, but still wanting to stay here. He's a valuable part of our team. He does above and beyond what we've asked of him. We don't want to lose him, and we also recognize if we do lose him, we're not going to get anyone with those kinds of certifications. We'll have to start all over, take another 5 years to get somebody certified, pay that amount, and it's a never-ending cycle. So we are happy to ask for the increase to retain the building commissioner here in Auburn.
Okay, great. Any questions?
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So opposed? No. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you acknowledging. We will come to you occasionally. We try to look at everything every couple of years and do a broad base on all the salaries. We will probably have a couple of others that we might have to come in. Again, sometimes the economy is changing faster. The unemployment rate is really affecting all of our positions because there are not as many eligible qualified candidates out there now as there are positions that are out there. So it's becoming more competitive. So we appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Continuing, let's see, what's next on the agenda? We're going to talk about minutes. We have minutes from 3 different meetings here, and these were emailed to us also, March 20th, March 27th, and April 3rd. Does anyone have any questions on the minutes? Okay, so we don't need to accept them, but if you do have any questions, you can certainly bring that up later. So now, we're almost ready to adjourn. Any questions, anybody?
When do we expect budgets to be coming our way?
The latter part of February. So I think we're scheduled to submit it to the board February 10th, and then 2 weeks after, I believe, we're looking for a transmittal to the Finance Committee. So if you follow that out, then we're looking at, so that would be the 24th, we're looking for a vote, so you could probably start on the 26th.
Okay, thank you.
Through the chair, if I may, can I
Yes.
add one thing? I'm sorry, it's
Yes.
not on the agenda. The Board of Selectmen this coming Monday will be voting for a special town meeting that we want to make you aware of. The date that we are asking them to vote on would be Tuesday, January 21st, with a snow date, hopefully one, of January 22nd. Now, recognizing that that is traditionally, for DPW, a tough time of year and can have snowstorms that last several days, we're going to add a third tentative snow date the following week, just to cover ourselves. I do want to explain quickly what this is all about and why it's so critical, and we're going to be working really hard to make sure we get a quorum. We will have the board vote to open the warrant, probably leave it open for a week, and then close the warrant. We do only anticipate one article, and that's the reason we're doing this. As you may recall from prior town meetings, particularly the last one, we have a major reconstruction project of Auburn Street coming up through the Mass DOT, and we were slated to begin in 2021 with most of the construction coming in 2022. The state has reached out to our DPW director, Bill Coyle, and told him that they could move our project up by an entire year if we could be ready to go by the spring. And by ready to go, that means we have already allocated the $1.2 million for the additional improvements. The state is, and I don't want to throw out numbers yet because we don't have them exactly, but there are other projects that didn't happen in the region that the state is now willing to give us additional money toward our project because they have to expend it by the end of the year. What we need from town meeting is the authorization for the Board of Selectmen to go forward and do the right-of-way takings that are needed to complete the project. So we have the funding to do the takings. That was part of the $1.2 million that was approved in May. Now we need the authority to actually take those takings. We didn't do it previously because the project was a year out. So our intent initially was to come in at the annual town meeting in May, put it as a regular article, and get the authority to do the takings. The state is now saying we need to get those takings done and completed and certified by June, and if we can do that, our project's going to start next fiscal year, with the potential to go out to bid over the summer, fall, maybe construction starting before the snow flies next year, and if not, definitely the following spring. And the project now is probably up to about a total of $5 million, initially from a $3 million project. So there's a financial benefit to moving forward on it. So that's why we're having the special town meeting. We're going to do our best to get the word out to the public, to the town meeting members as to why it's really critical to get a quorum and get this meeting. It shouldn't be a fast meeting. There may be other warrant articles that are submitted because we are going to keep it open, but at this moment, we anticipate just the one.
Thank you. Thanks for the update. Okay, any other questions? I have one for Ed. Could you send us email us a copy of the recap sheet?
Sure. Well, it hasn't been approved yet.
Oh, okay.
We submitted, but we're waiting for approval.
When do you anticipate?
Within days.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you get it, if you could send that.
Sure, we'll send it to
appreciate
you.
Thank you. All right, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.